All right, let's get started. What's up, Adam?
What's up, man? All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. I know a lot of you have been waiting a long time to chat with Shannon. He's a hard guy to track down. I will pin if you guys haven't heard it before. My interview with Shannon. I can't remember, man. How long? It must have been like, God, I don't know, 18 months ago. I had you on my podcast. I'll pin that up top at some point when I remember where the heck I put it. Because yeah, he's fascinating dude. And just so you guys know, and I know you've probably seen the tweet by now, but Jake and I are joining the Emblem team, and we're excited to chat about it tonight with you guys and share more of it. So Jake, welcome up. Jake's here as well. What's up, dude?
Yo, what's up? Excited to finally be doing this after some months of conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I get, to give a really quick backstory. I mean, I don't know how long we've all been as a community been talking about, building a historic NFT marketplace or, something that focuses on historic
Hey everybody.
NFTs. Hey, Shannon, how's it going, man? We got you. You got us, man. Can you hear us okay?
Oh no, did the Shannon get rugs already?
Shannon's
Shannon's the one person here who we really do need to not get wrong.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you okay, man. Yeah, we got you. Um, so yeah, I mean, Jake and I mean, all of us in this space, Leo, I know has put stuff together for a marketplace as well. And
Hello
um,
everybody.
Yo, Shannon,
you
can you
get,
hear us talking?
I can hear you guys talking. Can you guys not hear
Okay,
me?
sweet, sweet. Yes, we
yeah,
can hear
cool.
you now.
Fantastic.
Sweet.
Yeah, so just I mean, Jake and I were super psyched when we got a hold of Shannon and the team and started discussing, how we can build a historical NFT marketplace that works for the historical NFT community, and that's what we're gonna do. And I'm super psyched to do it. I know Jake is completely pumped as I am, to not only build the marketplace, but then build the information that tells the story of these projects. I mean, that's going to be probably years worth of work. But Jake and I are already starting to work
I'm
on
gonna leave and
it.
rejoin. I can't hear anything and again.
Okay, man. And so that's where we are, man. And yeah, I'm psyched to do it. And I know we've been talking about it for a while. And yeah, Jake, go ahead and chime in if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we, as a community, we started talking about a historical marketplace at like the beginning of the summer. I actually like went through my tweets and I started talking about it around February of this year. And I think as a community, we're kind of all at that point where us as individuals have kind of found the communities, and now it's time for the different communities to work together to have something that we can all build and push the historical NFT narrative forward. So that's what I'm most excited about. Yeah, we've already started. I've already been heads down for about the last 2 weeks, putting out a bunch of this content. There's a bunch that we have to catch up on, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
I was extremely excited to hear this news. I literally can't think of two better people than the two of you to be joining Emblem Vault and letting them, just helping them double down on this asset class, right? Like this historical NFT asset class that everybody here like is, to say we believe in it is an understatement. It's basically somewhat of a small cult going on, and I'm just very excited that Shannon is going to be really, making a decision to double down. We're the first kind of major users of Emblem Vault, and obviously the technology itself is a much broader technology. It could, uh, you know, potentially benefit a lot of different areas and has a lot of different use cases. But our community has benefited tremendously. I mean, I can't emphasize enough. There's many people here who hold Emblem Vault assets, and I think many of us would not have been holding any assets that are not on Ethereum had it not been for Emblem Vault. So I think bridging that gap for a lot of us. I mean, I personally can't thank the work that Shannon and Desktop and others have done enough. It's been really awesome to see y'all kind of step into this community, and I'm super excited that you're going to take it to the next level here and really double down.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, part of our vision is like bringing those assets to other chains as well, right? So if, I don't know, the Tezos chain, they want to buy Pepe's, great. Like, how can we make that easy for them and facilitate that? right? Which will involve a lot of reach out across the different chains to try and, involve people, involve collectors, and kind of meet collectors where they are. Because I think we're seeing right now, and it's probably going to change over time, but right now, people are on their own kind of chains right now. We're on Ethereum generally here, but there are a lot of people who are on, counterparty in Bitcoin and don't want to leave there, right? So it's like, how can we bring the NFTs to where the collectors are, is part of our vision. And we got a lot to build. And Shannon, you back, man? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I'm back. I can hear you guys a lot better now.
Awesome, man. Welcome up, bro.
Thanks. One of the things I wanted to mention that I'm extremely honored to be working again with this historic NFT community. It's basically it's the same group that inspired the whole project years and years ago. So for it to come full circle and be the use case that really took off is it's just quite poetic.
Do you want to give people a little bit of a background on how you got to, Emblem Vault's kind of best use case? I think it's kind of a little interesting story. If people haven't heard it before, give them the 1 minute overview of how it got to that point.
Well, there's a lot of different places I can start, but Emblem Vault actually started as a bug. I was working with another company, and it was a multi-chain wallet, and I had made a coding error, and I noticed that all of the addresses in my wallet all said that they were Litecoin addresses, but I had like a Litecoin address, a Bitcoin address, and so on. And well, I fixed the bug, but I mean, it got me thinking that really trying to understand what had happened. And this was the early days, so OpenDime had just come out, and as I understood that basically what I was doing was recreating this concept of an HD wallet, similar to what Ledger and OpenDime and other hardware wallets were doing. I got really excited that this concept of a software-based hardware wallet, and like I was sort of living two lives in crypto, as a lot of people live many lives. I was hanging out with the counterparty guys that were all making and trading rare pepes and talking about the spells of Genesis and coming up with all these experimental card games and talking about all these wild things that we envisioned for the future of crypto. And that's sort of where Emblem Vault blossomed from. I wanted to be able to recreate some of the elements of my childhood of collecting baseball cards and collecting Magic the Gathering cards and trading them with my friends when I got ones I didn't need. And another thing that was really exciting about that space and that time in crypto land is that there weren't many adopters. So how did we get people into it? I mean, the first thing we did was we gave stuff away. I mean, everybody I knew was giving away Bitcoin or creating these cute little NFTs so that they could give them away to people. And it was I think tipping was another big use case back then. So it was a very giving culture.
Yeah, that's awesome. Why don't we, well, I'm not sure exactly how to proceed here. If we want to kind of, I know people probably have some questions for Shannon. I mean, yeah, go ahead, Leo.
Let's do, like, there's going to be a bunch of people with questions, I'm sure, but I want to save that like for the end more. And we'll definitely have time for everyone who wants to come up and ask questions. But I want to just, like, for this first part, dig into a little bit more just with kind of the folks on the stage here, specifically about, like, what is the future of Emblem Vault? Where do you guys see yourself in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Like, what is the bigger picture of what you're trying to do here? And how do you think you can serve the historical space? And, like, what is like your priorities for the next, like, year, 2, 3 years? Like, I think people just want to know broader, what's the direction things are heading in?
Yeah, definitely. So at the start right now, our focus is onboarding and getting some collections right. So starting basically with Pepe's, right? We're going to start with Pepe's first and have the collections in a way where it's far more similar to what you would see with, like, curio cards on OpenSea, where you see a Nakamoto card, you just see the one card, and then you're going to see all the listings of the for sales, right, and all the bids, right? That's the idea from like a tech standpoint, a technology standpoint. That's what the interface we want people to experience, right? So starting with Pepe's, and then we're going to work from there. And basically onboard collections slowly to make sure we get the tech right and get everything right. The larger vision, I mean, we've talked about it before. My feeling is personal, but my feeling is we're moving into a multi-chain world, and so we want to try and lead the tech where people don't even have to be concerned what blockchain they're on. They can just trade these assets. How we get there, how it works, I'll leave that to Shannon, right? But that's the larger vision, right? But to meet collectors where they are, and again, it's not that I'm on Tezos and I'm my point of view.
Yo, did I? Okay, we're good. I think you ride a rug for like a couple seconds there,
sorry, man.
But yeah, let's jump to Shannon. Shannon, what's like from more of a technical perspective, right? Like, how do you implement the vision that Adam kind of just laid out there? Are you releasing new contracts for Emblem Vault at kind of V2 platform with ERC 1155 tokens, for example, on Ethereum to achieve that rare Pepe kind of semi-fungible user experience, or is this more abstracted by a front end layer? What's the implementation kind of potentially looking like here?
It's definitely, I've been heads down for quite a few months working on all new contracts. A number of different features, but the thing that we're going to roll out first is going to be this curated collection idea, the ERC 1155. And it will definitely be, it's actually publicly available for people to look at, and I'll make sure that we put a link to the Solidity code in the thread somewhere.
That is music to my ears. I'm extremely excited about this. I'm looking for horn sound effects on YouTube right now. Like, yeah. So bottom line is, yeah, I want to jump to Jake in here. Jake, like, what your thoughts are on that? But yeah, like, this is exactly like, as someone who's been in this space for a while now, this is exactly the kind of user experience that's needed. Have spent way too much time on dealing with the user experience, not just on Emblem Vault, but just in general. That like a lot of people get stuck on the user experience stuff, right? When they start venturing over to other chains, and it's yeah, if it's implemented correctly, I think this is a huge win and a huge unlock that allows a correct market price discovery to happen on a lot of these assets that just doesn't happen now because of the pool of potential buyers who are willing to spend the time to understand this stuff, have somewhat of a potentially technical background, and feel comfortable with this stuff. Is just it's hard at the moment for people, and it would be much harder without Emblem Vault, but there's still challenges there, and I'm sure you're obviously extremely familiar with this as well, guys. So I'm just very excited. I want to convey my excitement.
Yeah, it's one of the things that sort of made me want to be a developer in this space years ago. Is I'm the type of person that will dig into it, and if it's confusing and complex, then that's exciting to me. But I realized that we're not going to be able to onboard millions of users if it's not ubiquitous. So Adam really said it well, that it's becoming this multi-chain world that a handful of us saw back in the day.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time. Leonidas, I could tell your excitement. For those that are here too, make sure you stick around at the end. We're gonna be giving away some stuff so that you can actually partake in the test curated collection. That'll have some collectible tokens, which will hopefully be deployed here pretty shortly. So make sure that you stick around for that. Yeah, I was gonna give a little bit more of like a long-winded response. I had 2 different community calls today. And both people were actually just kind of asking like how this even came to be, right? There's really no blueprint for quote unquote, you call them influencers or leaders in spaces to kind of collab with dev teams. We've kind of seen this in the modern space with like the marketing of vibes kind of collaborations. But this is completely different. This is actually like a partnership. This is not like a Jake and Adam are working for Emblem Vault. This is like Jake and Adam are Emblem Vault team now. Like we're here for the long-term vision. We came in and conformed around the idea that this is going to be a multiple year endeavor, with a historical marketplace being one of the goals there. But there's a lot of stuff that has to happen in the intermediary for that to become a reality. Adam and I started talking about this seriously like around the summertime, and started talking to a few different people, and Shannon and the EV team pretty much had the same view as us, the same vision, and we knew what we had to do to get into that position. And so we've really been seriously talking together for about 2 months now. So this wasn't really something that just like came to be. And, we got on calls every week and talked about like a blueprint to get there, the things that Emblem Vault has been lacking and needs to improve on, what are the technical feats that need to be accomplished, and kind of how we keep the community involved with this as well. Because as we know, with the historical community, every collection has something specific that they need. There's certain different contracts that have different technical complications. The story is completely different. So with like the long-term vision or long to medium-term vision of the marketplace, of course, we want to have that, as we mentioned, with like the curio card kind of style with rare papes and spells of Genesis, and that you could even move it to some of the newer collections that are historically related, like fake rares and faux sogs and rare doge and all these ones. Like those are part of the journey as well, with new features. So Adam and I right now are really just focused education, content simplification. You're going to see a lot more Medium posts, more YouTube videos that are already in the works, Twitter Spaces, just and more involvement of trying to ask like what are specific things that everybody needs. But right now, like where we're set, we have Emblem Vault on OpenSea, and so I think OpenSea is going to be kind of this intermediary between where we are now and then the historical marketplace, and we'll really test and see the kind of things that we could do on there. I mean, the awesome part is it's almost be very similar to kind of like how you see art blocks, where art blocks was just a curated collection when it first started, where all art blocks were under one collection. And then eventually they split it up, and now you see Fidenzas are their own collection, Spells of Genesis are their own collection. And that's kind of how it'll end up being. So we have to be very cautious the way we do it. The code has to be very simple, has to be audited, and we have some different ways to go about that as well. But it's just cool to be able to have these different collections. And Shannon, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up art blocks. So another little interesting bit of the technical journey here is, as we started listening to the industry and the users of Emblem Vault, we realized pretty quickly that we were going to need to have individual collections, just because it was getting really cluttered. And I noticed that art blocks was one of the first collections that was separated on OpenSea. And I think somebody at Art Blocks had made a tweet about modifying their metadata in order to support this new way of creating individual collections. So I spent a couple of days and I took a really highly technical look at the how Art Blocks was creating their metadata, and I made our metadata conform to it, so that if OpenSea would have just turned on support for everybody for having metadata-based individual collections, we would have supported it out of the box 6-8 months ago. But they didn't, so then I had to sort of step back and reapproach how I was going to do it.
Yeah, it's Shannon's a gigabrain, and the thing that we'll probably talk about technically too is this new ERC 1155 minting process that'll be rolled out. Also with a cool functionality too that'll come pretty similar, which is like batch minting, because we know the minting of a vault can be quite tedious. But we know if we're going to have ERC 1155s, a lot of these are 500 supply, 1,000 supply, and some of these people have 200, 20%, 50% of the tokens. So if you can just simplify that to where you can mint 50 vaults at one time and individually fill them, that'll help bring further liquidity to the market. And then if you have rare Pepes or 1,774 different cards that you can have them all look like hero cards, you're always going to have resting bids on that, which further brings more liquidity to the market because you only have to go to one spot to bid on all of them. And it might decrease some of the over-the-counter arbitrage opportunities, which has kind of existed in the historical space for a long time. But this kind of thing brings a lot of efficiency to the marketing, and it makes it a lot easier for just big collectors to come in and just purchase things or just throw a lot of resting bids out there. So it's just an all around. I think this is the most complete position for us to dive into first, and it seems like everyone agrees.
Yeah, I mean, I just think from I always think of the user, right? And I know for a while, I wouldn't even tell people to go to look for Pepe's because I was worried they were going to buy a scam one or something like that, right? So from my view, it's like, well, how do we open this to just so many more potential collectors, right? And to do that, you just have to. It has to be easy. It has to be drop dead easy. And yeah, so I'm psyched to build that. Desktop, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, because I deal with scammers on a daily basis, and to have it in a uniformed look so that you know that this is the real thing rather than somebody trying to, fake out everyone.
Yeah, Desktop, we've definitely spent hundreds of hours making modifications to the system and hunting down the scammers and trying to figure out how to mitigate them while still remaining as decentralized as possible. It's been a task for sure. We've learned a lot.
Yeah, one thing I want to note too, which I just had noticed as I started operating the Twitter account and going through the telegrams, is right now there kind of exists two different but synonymous Emblem Vault communities. You kind of have the OGs who believe in the DeFi prospects of it, which Leonidas kind of talked about earlier, and then the use case, which found the best use case, which is for NFTs. And so I know some of them will probably come up later and ask a bunch of questions, but we believe, as we were talking about as a team, that Emblem Vault, it crosses into pretty much everything. DeFi, it could even be parts of the metaverse to NFTs, but in order to reach that kind of big reality, you have to really narrow down, and this is why we decided to really focus in on the historical NFT narrative, because that's kind of the bread and butter, and it's a community who's ready to take it next stage. It's just once I start talking with Desktop and talking with the community in the Telegram, really opened my eyes to some of the other things that the Emblem Vault can do, even outside of just trading historical NFTs.
Well, at the moment, NFTs is the bread and butter of Emblem Vault, so we all understand that. But also the wider community knows where Emblem Vault is going. But of course, with the historical NFT community, you're the guys who use it at the moment. So until the main marketplace comes along, where it also involves cryptocurrency, that's what we kind of expected anyway.
I've got a bit of a more, maybe just more specific question, digging into a little bit more specifics now, Shannon. So, or anybody up here if you know the answer. The concept of an empty vault. So yes, there's the concept of scams and incorrect things being in vaults, and it sounds like with this new collection setup, you're gonna have confidence when you go to that URL with that collection on OpenSea or later on your marketplace once you launch, that's going to be legit. Have y'all thought about that empty vault problem where we've seen people buy empty vaults?
Quite a bit, actually. So one of the key differences to how the minting process is going to work on these new collections is, instead of just creating an empty vault and calling it whatever you want and filling it with whatever you want, when it comes to vaulting into, say, the Rare Pepe collection, you would instead sort of pick the collection that you're going to mint into, pick the asset that you want to create, and then that's it. And then click create, and it will create sort of an empty vault for you. And at this point, the vault has not been minted on the blockchain. There is no backing NFT that can be sold or traded anywhere. It's just the crypto keys and the addresses and everything else that a vault is. That ability to mint the vault only goes live once the assets are within the vault. So the idea being that there can't be an empty vault in one of these new ERC 1155 collections. Unless, of course, in the future we have deployed an ERC 1155 collection that allows for empty vaults. But that's not where we're at today. So the idea is that any of these I didn't want to call them. We can't really call them curated unless we can all but guarantee the contents inside. So by sort of changing up the workflow, the minting workflow a little bit, I feel like we've mitigated most of that particular risk there.
Gotcha. And I think moving from that kind of super just abstract box where you could, literally throw 100 assets into a vault to this more specific implementation that's more catered towards the use cases where you see people actually using your technology. I think, these user experience, we don't need to sell anybody on it. Assuming this is all implemented as described, this is kind of the holy grail user experience, right? For like a rare Pepe or a Spells of Genesis card. So this is all like super exciting. I want to dig into maybe a few harder questions here that I know people are asking, wondering, and a few people have asked me to ask questions. And then I also want to bring up anybody who wants to come up and ask questions after this. And Adam and Jake, feel free to ask questions or answer or chime in here. But the first big question a few people have talked about is basically this point around centralization, right? So like very recently, FTX, a very large, well-trusted, centralized exchange. It turns out that they essentially kind of lied to their customers, basically. And I don't need to go into the details on that too much, but basically they were a trusted central kind of third-party, central authority, centralized exchange that everything looked good, and then it looked good until it didn't look good because they were misleading users, right? And obviously, that's a risk with any centralized exchange. Coinbase, it doesn't matter how reputable you are. So I'm just kind of wondering, what is your answer to collectors who are saying like, hey, I've got my, 6 figures Rare Pepe Nakamoto card stored in Emblem Vault. Should I be unvaulting that and holding that on Bitcoin because I don't want it stored on a centralized exchange, because then I'm vulnerable to a situation such as an FTX type situation, right? So what would you say to those people?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to encourage people to if it's of, I mean, I shouldn't say any numbers, but we always encourage people to hold on the original chain. So yes, that is the safest way to maintain your assets. That said, just like with Coinbase or any centralized exchange, for some people, just keeping it in the Emblem Vault is actually the safest way to hold their asset. You know that as well as I do. If you have a Namecoin asset, that expires, for the vast majority of regular collectors, Emblem Vault holding their Namecoin asset with a little bit of Namecoin in there to automatically renew is going to be the safest way for them to hold the asset. But that's for each individual, to decide for themselves, right? But Jake and I definitely are going to be making content about, how to unwrap, what's the safest way, all that kind of stuff, which is going to give our users, I think, better idea, this kind of educational content to give people the understanding of what's actually happening, because it's hard to understand, right? Certainly for newbies who are coming in the space, they're not going to understand what's going on. So that's on Jake and I to kind of explain this. But yeah, obviously we want people to understand what it is and be able to make that decision for themselves as to what the best way to house and store their assets is. Do I think it's safer in an Emblem Vault than, in, you know, one of those Namecoin wallets, or, you know, I personally do, but that's a personal choice, right? And everybody has to make that choice for themselves. There is some centralization risk, but, you know, the individual has to make that call, if that makes sense.
Yep. So one of the things that I'm excited about having Adam and Jake to help with is to sort of iron out that message and make sure that everybody understands sort of where the risks are, so that they can make make a decision based on their own personal risk tolerance. And sort of aside from that, moving forward, you know, we're constantly going to be developing toward more decentralization. So lowering that attack vector, making it smaller and smaller and smaller until it's completely gone. And it's gonna be a multi-pronged approach. You know, there's gonna be a fair amount of research done, fair amount of testing and development, but then also the education piece is critical.
Yeah, the difference here too is, you know, the cliche is not your keys, not your coins with the centralized exchanges, but here the user actually has access to their keys. Of course, there's multiple attack vectors, and Shannon mentioned that we're gonna slowly move towards this as decentralized as possible. I know from a technical standpoint that can't exist now because the product isn't fully polished. So you do have to put some trust within the Emblem Vault team. And for some people, we understand that's a non-starter, and that's completely okay. But unfortunately, we all can't have a launch like Bitcoin to be as decentralized as possible. And in today's token world, there has to be some trust in the team to get to where we want to be. But over time, the goal is to be as decentralized as possible. And also, we're still learning from a security standpoint of how secure Emblem is, which it has been. So there's just a lot of testing that has to be undertaken over time to get to the decentralized perspective that satisfies everyone.
Gotcha. So the goal is decentralization long term. In the short term, I'm sure it's not just Emblem Vault. There's many kind of bridging technologies and bridges across chains, and all of them have, to some degree, some level of centralization going on there. And I think basically, you know, you're doing the best with the technologies that we have at the moment. And as long as you're transparent and educating people about that, you know, there's 100 million people that choose to store their crypto in Coinbase. That is basically the offering you have at the moment. And then you'll encourage people who are able to and want to use you more as a transactional layer. Maybe you sell it, you hold it in Emblem Vault for a few weeks while you sell it, and then you throw it in, you know, you pull it out of Emblem Vault when you want to just hold it for many years, right? So that's another flow that will resonate with users. And then there's people who, you know, they're the absolute kind of maximalists. They don't want anything centralized. They haven't used a centralized exchange since they onboarded, and that's okay. There's going to be those people too. And I do think it's a lot about, you know, bringing that transparency and increasing trust with people that this team and Emblem Vault is a reputable, safe, centralized source to basically, you know, manage people's assets like this. So I think, yeah, there's the more transparency, the more education there, I think the better. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, look, we all know people who are whatever Bitcoin maxis who would never, don't want anything to do with centralization at all. Totally get it, understood. But if they want to sell their, you know, Nakamoto on Emblem Vault, you know, or sorry, on OpenSea or whatever, they're going to have a problem, right? So, I mean, this is a solution that, you know, I think the vast majority of the market's comfortable with, but it is up to the individual to kind of make that call. I've told the story of like my brother, right? Do I want my brother keeping his Bitcoin on a ledger? Like, no, I want him keeping his Bitcoin on Coinbase, right? Because like there's no way he'll like screw up his ledger, he'll like lose his keys, right? And there are a lot of people like that. I know we kind of laugh because we are, you know, most of the people in this space are, you know how to manage their own keys, are comfortable with it. But the majority of the world is not, right? And so we kind of have to, you can't educate everybody up to our level. It's just not going to happen. But we are going to help people understand what it is and help them to, if you want to get your Pepe onto the native chain and own that wallet yourself, we're definitely going to educate people to do that. Jake was actually making some how-tos this week on exactly how to do that. So actually, maybe here, Shannon, maybe want to explain a little bit about what it means this kind of idea of centralization, because I don't know how much people have heard about it, just so they get an understanding of like the technical aspect of it to a degree as to like what's happening on the
Yeah.
back end.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it. So currently, let me start with the problem. The problem is that a key needs to be created in a way where anybody can know the addresses, but nobody can know the private key, and it has to be portable. It has to be portable in a relatively simple way too. So when I transfer my NFT to another person, that those keys need to transfer with it. So it's a really complex problem to try and solve. Now, and we've worked with a couple of different technologies, starting with IBM and they had some encryption on a chip, and ultimately moved to Web3 auth. So how it technically works is our server will generate a seed, and from that seed will generate a public key. Now that process is called a serverless process. So basically, a web server is spun up really quickly to do the operation, does the operation, sends it on its way, and then that little web service dies. So there's nothing left in memory. What happens to that seed immediately after it's created is we send a request to Web3 auth, and they create an encryption key on their end using multi-party computation, and none of the parties involved know the encryption key. But our server that spun up, that created the seed, it knows the encryption key for about half a second, as it uses the encryption key provided from Web3 auth to then encrypt the seed and store that seed within the metadata and on chain and whatnot. And then everything is forgotten. So the point of centralization is, at one point, our server does create that seed and encrypts it and stores it. Now our service immediately dies and forgets that it ever did that. But that is the technical ins and outs of what's going on to create the key. Now, when somebody claims a vault, that's a little bit that vector is a lot smaller. Our server participates in the claim process as well. So when a user claims their vault, that process looks like they first destroy the NFT, they burn it. And then our server verifies a number of things. It verifies that the user making the request to claim the keys is the user that previously owned the vault, that it's the user that burnt the vault, that it is actually burnt, that the vault did used to exist. Once our server verifies all those components, it sends a signed message back to that user. Now that user will uses that signed message to communicate with Web3 auth. And Web3 auth takes that signed message from our server and says, and the information from the user claiming the vault, and says, does its own verification. It says, okay, so the user has requested this key. Emblem Vault has signed and said, yep, all the conditions are met. And then it runs through its process of recombining all of the pieces needed to recreate that key in the user's browser. So the claim process, the private key never touches anybody's servers. It's only on the user that does the claim.
Gotcha. I appreciate that breakdown. I am curious. Okay, so I think it was maybe Jake who mentioned potentially y'all would do an audit of your smart contracts, but obviously the system you just described involves a lot more than just smart contracts. Do you have any ambitions to maybe bring in somebody to make you guys, SOC 2 compliant, or just give an audit that can then be shared publicly with everyone, where we can all see that what you're saying is correct, and that this security is meeting a certain standard that one of these audit firms has verified as a third party? Is that something you have on your roadmap?
There's a number of different ways that we can approach it, and whether it is an outside audit company that can attest to the fact that our code is doing exactly what it says it is. That's one way. That's not my favorite. My favorite would be instead to release the bit of code that our server does and allow multiple people to participate in that verification process. And then our system, instead of requiring verification from just Emblem Vault, it would be much more similar to a blockchain. We would need verification from 80% of the participants involved that says that yes, this vault is actually being claimed by the correct person. That would be my ideal world.
Gotcha.
Let everybody participate in the process.
Gotcha. That does sound like, that sounds like it's kind of your dream, your next step on that road to decentralization, what you just described there. My personal take would be, why not do both? I think the more confidence with this stuff, the better. This is very much a trust-based world that we're in here in Web3. So yeah, basically that was one main question I had. The second question, a bit of a harder question here, and then we can bring people up, is there's been people from the Namecoin community who have expressed, I guess, some frustration around basically their view of it is that, y'all offer a product for Namecoin, and there have been instances where the Namecoin community feels like they maybe haven't gotten the support they needed in the past. Maybe the metadata is a little bit off on a certain collection, for example, and they're struggling to maybe get that metadata updated. More recently, there have been examples of maybe the bulk vaults where there's multiple Namecoin domains in a vault not auto renewing, even though there's the Namecoin in it, which is definitely problematic to members of the Namecoin community. That there's been instances of that, and they've had a bit of trouble getting the support and feeling confidence that that Emblem Vault is addressing these issues and taking these issues seriously. And I'm sure that's part of the thinking of bringing Adam and Jake in here, is to help bring the manpower in to help give that support and communicate better with the community. But specifically in regards to a bug in a financial product, right? What would you say to the Namecoin community basically about that going forward?
So a couple of things, really. One, I would like to mention that bug has been paid attention to quite a bit, and I'm highly confident that will not happen anymore. I've been monitoring it quite closely, and yeah, I totally understand that there's been a major communication gap, and like you said, that is definitely one of the reasons why having Adam and Jake here to help sort of separate those concerns is really monumental and critical for us moving forward. I've often found myself trying to figure out whether I'm going to sit and do bugs and be the voice of Emblem Vault, and that's a full-time job. And if I'm doing that, then the features that I'm creating struggle. It takes a lot longer for those to get created. So by having some help in that arena, we really hope to just have a much better experience for the groups involved. Also, sort of this idea of having a curated collection. When we launch a curated collection, another part of that, so that on the back end of that, is we're going to have a dedicated point of contact with that group, with that project, or a number of people. So a DAO might be the ones that are managing say a Twitter egg, curated collection, for instance. By having that that dedicated team that we can communicate to, we'll have a channel for issues to be solved and for communication in a more direct manner to flow, from us through the contacts and then back into the different communities that will need support or features or different things added.
Yeah, I wanna say that today I had 2 different calls with members from the Doge Party community and somebody from Namecoin community, because Adam and I, we want to dive in and let Shannon do the dev work, because we know it's been tough with a small team trying to do everything. It's tough. Adam and I are even having trouble trying to get all this content under wraps to figure out how to spread the message. But we understand every community has specific needs, and so that's why we encourage everybody to please reach out and schedule a call or a message, because the cool part is once we do move to a marketplace, Emblem Vault moves from the royalty spot to the marketplace fee, and then some of these curated collections have the ability to get creator royalties, which they've never been able to have before on Counterparty, Doge Party, Namecoin, Emmercoin, and whichever other ones pop into fruition. So that's like the ultimate goal. And when that happens, we're gonna have a hard conversation with every community to kind of determine, who gets the royalty. Is it the DAO? Is it the foundation? Is it the creator? So that's why we're really encouraging active participation now, so that when that inevitability comes, we're all familiar with each other, and we can talk through these hard conversations, whether it's technically, socially, politically, and so on.
Gotcha. Awesome. I appreciate you guys answering those questions. I have one more question from Non-Fungible Mate, who I believe had to go to sleep. I think it's like 3 or 4 a.m. where they're from. They wanted to know about Emmercoin. Is there any updates on an Emmercoin integration? This is something, if you know Non-Fungible Mate, this is a top of mind question for Non-Fungible.
The Emmercoin whale needs to know what's happening with Emmercoin. And there he is, brother. What's up, Ben? Here he is. Hold on. I'm getting him to join right now. Here, go ahead, Shannon. Go ahead, Shannon.
I was just going to say that Emmercoin is the very tip top of the list for the next token to support, creating balance or showing the balances of. So this has been a lot going on over the past couple of weeks, right? We've been working with the partnership, trying to roll out the curated collections, and the Emmercoin integration is definitely going to be, one of the next integrations over the next couple of weeks that we, roll out and test.
Yeah, I can't confirm. Emmercoin is literally at the top. It's literally the first one on Shannon's list. There's actually quite a few on that list, but Emmercoin is up there at the top. And it's funny story. First, I posted at the top the giveaway, so make sure you retweet the top and post your ETH address. Shannon's already created 4 variations of Emblem tokens that will take part in the test ERC 1155 launch. They're all named there. They will also have pretty cool graphic and images. Though there's images on it right now, there might be a different specific curated image from maybe some artist. Hint, when that does come live, so make sure that you share there. But also just doing my own digging over the last 2 weeks once it started working. I realized there's actually a bunch of blockchains that actually have some sort of NFTs from like 2019, 2018, and 2020 that we hope to kind of include there as well. It's quite interesting. A lot of these have been skipped over.
Non-fungible. Did you have a follow-up, Non-fungible?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to clarify if I somehow can help you in developing this Emmercoin integration, because if you need any of my feedback, you can always hit me up on the DMs or something. As I know for now, you, Adam, and Jake are working with Emblem Vault. If you need any extra info about explorers or something like that, just let me know, because I'm only up for integration, and glad to finally to speak together with Shannon live in live version, because it's been a while, but it's great. Yeah, cool.
Go get
I
some
guess
sleep.
I was going to ask a question actually, because Emmercoin is expiration. So would it need something like Namecoin to where you could fill Emmercoin or put some Emmercoin in there for the auto renewal? Just curious if that's something that actually has to happen as well.
I assume we should better clarify this with Shannon, because as from my knowledge, it has completely the same expiration mechanics as Namecoin. So I assume if it's possible, we can just copy it from Namecoin and do it like it was with a Namecoin. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, great. That's fantastic, and I appreciate the offer, and I will definitely be reaching out to work out the specifics with you. One of the things that
Cool,
was
thanks.
one of the things that was difficult with Namecoin, I started working with Namecoin before Namecoin had sort of come back in the popularity that we see it in today. So the documentation was quite sparse, and that really made the auto renewal process take quite a bit of time. So having the ability to reach out to you directly will shorten that quite a bit.
Guys, one thing to heads up, just be sure to follow Emblem Vault so they can DM you, so we can DM you from the official account in regards to if we need to get a hold of you for the giveaway. But thanks for posting that. Everybody, reminder, it's up top, right? Is it the first one? Yeah, go ahead. You can go up to that, retweet that, put your address in. And is that devoted or no? Doge Father, what's up, man?
Yeah, just wanted to add to the Emmercoin discussion. I mean, the difference to Namecoin is that you can easily, have your Emmercoin assets being active for, a few decades for very little money. So I think this renewal thing is way less of an issue compared to the Namecoin assets. You can just for 1 or 2 cents have it for, active for 30 years or so. So it's basically not a big issue. So, and most people, for the valuable and cool Emmercoin assets, they were just doing that for, I don't know, 100 years.
Yeah, guys, that's just a detail on the Emmercoin in the wallet when you renew it. You can kind of set the years or whatever, and it's pennies to do it for 100 years or something. So that's pretty awesome. Chain, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Great space. I'm happy to see Shannon here as well. Yeah, I guess my question was just on a bit of a detail. The new Curated Collections will be ERC 1155. Is that right? Did I understand correctly?
That's correct.
Yeah. Why did you guys decide to go with that standard? Like, just I don't know if I missed it or not, but like that's the one where you can have editions essentially, right? That's if I'm not too tired and if I'm not remembering it wrongly.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. It's a semi-fungible token standard that lives on Ethereum, and we went with that for a number of reasons. One, there's only 2 standards that are universally adopted across all of the marketplaces and all the wallets, and that's ERC 721 and ERC 1155 when it comes to NFTs. And the ERC 721 works great, and for the initial use case of let's just create a box that somebody can put anything into from any blockchain, it works really well. But when we're thinking about creating a collection that has a limited number of assets inside with different issuances, it makes a lot more sense to have it be a collection that is similar to the curio cards for quite a few reasons. One, discoverability. So just like the asset discoverability. 2 is for price discoverability. It really flattens the price discoverability. So now instead of like now you can go on OpenSea, and in order for you to calculate what the floor is on, say, a Nakamoto card, you would need to do a search for all the Nakamoto cards in the collection, and then do your own manual calculations across them all. Because as far as the Emblem Vault system is concerned, and as far as the OpenSea Marketplace is concerned, there are n number of the Nakamoto card. But by moving to ERC 1155, there is one Nakamoto card with however many have been minted instances, and it just more closely matches the how NFT collections have been created in the past. I hope that answers your question.
No, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it actually, now that you mention it, like it will look. I couldn't even imagine like before seeing Nakamoto cards as like because in my mind, oh yeah, there will be created collection, and we will still have those bunch of Nakamoto cards next to each other. When you hit like on the OpenSea page, but actually, it's gonna be a lot more like curio cards, which is actually much better experience. So yeah, thanks for the answer.
Yeah, and I mean better not only from the buyer's perspective, but better from a minting perspective too, because you guys know now, if you've ever made an Emblem Vault, you got to put the title in, the description, the image, all that sort of stuff, right? This clarifies all that. We've already seen the back end that Shannon's been working on, where you literally just select the Pepe you want from a drop-down list, and it populates everything for you. So it just, from a minting perspective, just user interface 1,000% better. So yeah, I'm super psyched.
If you guys don't mind, I have one more question.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah, thanks. So Shannon, is it going to be possible to create new curated collections going forward? Like, let's say, I want to do a collection on Counterparty myself, just, on my own project, let's say, and open my own directory. And would that be possible to reach out to you and say like, oh yeah, like, the collections that fit into this directory or that fit into this type of, I don't know, the name, let's say, like name starting that way. Could you please create a created collection for me and so on? Is that going to be possible?
Most definitely, yes. So in the short term, we're going to be, very, very controlled and specific with which collections we release in which order. But the more long-term vision is that anybody will eventually be able to come and create their own curated collection through our interface. That's going to be a while down the road on the roadmap, because we're going to learn a lot as we sort of help launch curated collections for different projects. But that being said, you could come to us, as early as tomorrow, and we can start talking about, what a curated collection looks like for you, and defining what those assets are, and defining, what the royalty structure might be.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's. I was talking with somebody earlier today, and it's interesting when you go onto different chains, like for example, Counterparty versus Doge Party, where Doge Party, most of the collections actually surround the early creators in 2014, whereas Counterparty, the collections are literally like Spells of Genesis and Rare Pepe. So everything has to be very like kind of hands-on and curated to make sure the right things are fit for the right creator or the right collection. And then Shannon, if you wanted to mention kind of the idea around like the migration, or like what happens to the ERC 1155 ones that are in the V1 wrapper, what's that transition like?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I did definitely want to talk about it. So when we have our first curated collection launched and ready to interact with, we will also include the ability for users that say they've created an Emblem Vault and it has a single asset inside of it, a single Rare Pepe card, or a single Spells of Genesis card, or a single Doge Party card, and that ERC 721 vault or legacy Emblem Vault would technically qualify for one of these curated collections. We'll have this ability that's very similar to the claim process, but it would be a burn and mint instead of a burn and claim. So users that will not have to, say, manually crack all of their vaults, import all of their keys into wallets, and create new vaults. And so we're gonna make that process as simple as possible for users. As long as it qualifies, you should be able to click a button, sign your Ethereum transaction, and boom, you will no longer have the old legacy vault. You'll have a vault that lives on one of these new curated collections. And it's kind of a side effect from that too. In theory, you can envision a world where there is a counterparty collection, so that it allows any counterparty assets to be inside of it, and we might have a rare Pepe collection. So, moving forward, depending on what the user wants to do, how they want to sell it, or what marketplace they want to interact with, or what royalty structure they want to be involved in, they could theoretically move between, any qualifying collections. I hope that that made sense.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I'm excited and I'm on the team. I'm ready. Put me in.
Oh, I think we had Golger up, or Golliger.
Golliger.
What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Great.
I'm on here with Bob Troya. He and I are the creators of Token Art, the NFT app. Just wanted to put that out there. My question is, what role is COVAL going to play in the new marketplace? Bob and I have actually thought about this a lot on the Token Art side. We stayed away from marketplace completely because transacting across these chains is difficult. And I don't know, we're just looking at COVAL and going, okay, could they use this? Right now it's used to mint the vaults. Could they use it as a way to I don't know, have cross-chain, strip out all the complexity for the user and basically say transactions on this marketplace are done in this currency? Is that something you guys have thought about?
It definitely is something that we have thought about, and since COVAL has been a first-class citizen since the beginning, we've experimented with a number of ways to do this. And prior to, so I'd say up to a couple of months ago, we had actually deployed a COVAL token on every EVM chain that would allow you to sort of create an Emblem Vault on that chain. And we don't really have any plans of changing where we would not accept COVAL to be, the primary token for, doing your operations. But that being said, all of our new contracts will allow for different tokens to be used if if they're configured that way. So, for example, if a particular project came in and they wanted a curated collection, and it was just, technically speaking, our contracts would support the ability of minting NFTs on that collection using a different ERC20 token.
Gotcha. Okay. So basically any chain that is accepted as an input into a vault, the token associated with that chain could also be used for transactions.
Am I still here?
Yeah, we got you, man.
You're still there.
Shannon, did you hear that question?
I did not hear the question. Do you mind repeating it?
Go ahead, repeat the question, man.
Yeah, so I was just saying, so what I'm hearing you say is any chain that is accepted as an NFT input into a vault, the token associated with those chains will also be accepted for transactions on the in this marketplace.
Shannon, you
Space is killing us again.
Yeah, right.
There is another one as well, though. But any token, currency, blockchain that is within an emblem for the newer marketplace type thing, using emblem swaps, emblem for emblem, can be used as payments. If that's one of the ways you're on about.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm asking.
So basically, you could swap a Dogecoin for a Bitcoin if you wanted to,
Yeah, I don't know if that was what you're asking or not.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm just thinking through it. It's like, let's say I'm a creator, and
COVAL's used
like,
to create the vaults, but within the vaults, at the moment, I've calculated there's over 3,500 tokens you can use at the moment. The only reason it's not viable is because you've got to pay fees through like OpenSea and things like that at the moment.
I don't know if that makes sense for you, man.
no, it doesn't.
No,
But that's
yeah,
okay.
this is
What
the
I'm
thing.
asking is, like, I'm
Yeah, go ahead.
say I'm a creator who creates a name coin, a name coin NFT.
Okay.
I stick it in the vault.
Yep.
And I want royalties for that going forward.
Right.
It's a new collection. It's not a Twitter egg, right?
Gotcha.
So now it's a new name coin thing. It fits into all the new tech. So there's no legacy tech. It's all new tech.
Yep.
Somehow the transaction happens, a fee is paid, that fee gets distributed, right? That is very complex theoretically if it can be one of 1,500 coins. I'm just curious how
Well, I
that's
mean,
going to work.
if you're putting the name coin inside, if you're putting the name coin NFTs, you create a name coin NFT project, whatever, and you have 100 name coin NFTs, and you put them in Emblem Vaults. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so it's in an Emblem Vault.
So if you were a curated collection on the website through Emblem's Marketplace, right? As the artist, you would be able to earn royalties, right? Because it's acting as a 721 or 1155, whatever you were doing, right?
Right.
So
it's an 1155 on Ethereum,
right?
Right. So then the fees are paid in Ethereum at that point.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
Is like where.
Yeah, it would be on Ethereum. Yep. Yeah.
Regardless.
It gets complicated with Emblem Vault because Emblem Vault, the tech has a lot of opportunities, right? You could do a lot with it. That's what we're trying to do, though, is narrow it down. We're making it very simple, at least at the beginning, to not get too crazy with all the different blockchains and all that sort of stuff, but actually keep the marketplace relatively simple at the beginning, with a grander vision of multiple blockchains across blockchains and making it much larger, but at the beginning being very simple, if that makes sense.
Well, right now, vaults can be minted on different blockchains, right? That won't happen with the 1155 vaults. They're all Ethereum based.
Correct.
Because that's obviously it's that.
Correct.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man. No problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's like really changing that much. These are still just you're taking other chains and basically moving them to Ethereum, and that's how this first version is going to work, Adam. Right? So it's all still on Ethereum. So just
exactly.
Well, yeah, but
currently
you can do ETH, or you can do. I mean, isn't there like 3 chains that a vault can be on?
You got Ethereum, you got Polygon, you got Binance Smart Chain, you got Phantom, and Genesis that you can make vaults on.
5. There's currently 5 chains that a vault can sit on. That's why I was, it's already like super useful, but also super challenging from a user perspective. That's all. I want this marketplace to be. I'm hoping that it can be this thing that's just so easy. Maybe it's a little complicated for the people creating vaults to do, but the people buying them, it just got to be so simple,
Imagine this. I know exactly what you're saying, and our vision's there, but it's going to be a process to get there, right? So, for example, somebody vaults a Nakamoto, right? But is it okay? What if I want to buy it on Binance, or if I want to, buy it on a different chain, or what's that going to look like? And certainly at the beginning, we're going to simplify it, all right? But you can. It's pretty obvious to see the various use cases of how it could be much more complex, but in the beginning we're going to be simple with it. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it's just got to hide the complexity. That's
exactly
and hoping to see, right? It's I understand, like token art supports, I don't know, 7 blockchains right now. We hide all the complexity from the user. That's what you have to do as a product.
Bingo.
Right? Otherwise
exactly
up,
dude.
So.
Exactly.
Okay.
The moment the user's hit with complexity, it's a dead thing, right? So yeah, absolutely. We're on the same page. Zero G, what's up, man?
Hey guys, yeah, well, congrats on the announcement. I just wanted to say one thing that was, I think, is a cool thing that you guys are working on, or as part of that roadmap, is the more these chains are incorporated, not just for NFTs but also just for currencies. It's a huge. I think in the future, people are going to collect some of these older and more esoteric tokens. Just smaller blockchains that aren't super popular, and the fact that you can use this kind of as a life raft to get a more convenient way to custody it, and you also get the ability to have your own method of having hardware wallet support via the chain that you're running on. I think is going to be really important. And it's also a way to flex that too for people that, again, I think that's going to be a thing, right? But anyway, so I just that's just another thing I think's going to be fun to watch emerge and become a bigger thing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons my profile picture is what it is. That's a Tezos NFT that I'm wrapped in an Emblem Vault, so that just to kind of highlight the fact that, okay, what I've done here is I brought a Tezos NFT into a platform that doesn't support that blockchain, and I now made it supported by putting it inside of an Emblem Vault.
Yeah, I know one of the things I think is very topical considering what's going on, but I do think eventually, like, some of these chains that are like have meme value, like, I think BitConnect is going to be something that's going to be funny to see in your wallet, going forward, so fun stuff like that too.
I've definitely heard of a couple people trying to track down some BitConnects so that we can add support for it.
I've got a little bit. I can give you a couple if you need some to play around in a wallet.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think we got. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jake.
I was gonna say, I know there's an over-the-counter market for the original DAO tokens too. I heard that on a podcast at some point. So yeah, I think Zero G's spot on that. There'll be a lot of fungible collectors. Maybe even that guy who's doing the Satch tracking thing. We'll put it into a vault, and you can have one of the early.
Yeah, the
sets.
ordinals, man. We'll hook up the ordinals guy, and this is where it gets exciting, right? But to get there, I think for us, our base layer is the historical NFTs, right? But yeah, there are all sorts of these exciting, interesting, things. I mean, just talk about Tezos, right? It's like allowing people who have Tezos, whatever domain names, to sell them on through the marketplace. It just this ability to connect collectors across blockchains, I think is just super exciting. But Bob came up. What's up, Bob?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for putting this together. This is pretty exciting stuff. I basically just have two questions. The first is when marketplace, like when when do you anticipate like a first version of something? And then my second question, just to piggyback on what Gallagher was asking regarding COVAL, I see that right now then from this marketplace perspective as being the barrier for people to like vault. So will you be like will the vaulting mechanism be changed to allow for other currencies to be used to pay for the vaulting, or will it always be? Yeah.
Well, that's something we're discussing, and we'll have more clarity, by the time we launch. Because again, it like what was it Gollinger said earlier, creating a user experience on the marketplace that's kind of like a seamless, easy user experience. That's our top goal, right? So obviously having people go off the site to buy COVAL and stuff like that, we're going to solve that so that they don't have to do those kind of steps, right? So we'll figure something out that makes that user experience as seamless as possible, for sure. For as far as launch date, we're shooting for the beginning of next year. That's what we're shooting for. And TikTok, man. Shannon doesn't get Christmas this year. No Christmas for you, Shannon.
I did want to add a little bit to that. That no matter what we decide as far as different currencies that we will support, for the minting operations or claim operations or the different features that we'll provide. There will always be a incentivized reason to use COVAL, whether it's a discount or bonus features or something like that. Just the COVAL community has sort of birthed Emblem Vault, and they will remain first-class citizens throughout the lifetime of the project.
Gotcha. Thanks. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us on this space, own or hold, pretty good positions, and we're just curious as to, the long-term plans for it.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming up, dude. If anybody else wants to come up and ask questions, feel free to raise your hand. We'll bring you up. But we're almost at an hour and a half now. I don't know if anybody up on stage had any other questions or comments going forward.
No, just make sure you guys follow the Emblem Vault account so you can stay up to date with everything. We're putting a lot of work into it. Make sure you retweet that, follow the account, share your ETH address below. I think once we launch these test tokens and start testing out the variety of rarity and ERC 1155s and everything of that, once that happens, maybe sometime next week, that's going to be a lot of fun testing it out. And then once we roll it out.
Oh, Shannon, did you want to mention the bug bounty?
Yeah. So part of the testing process is we're going to be launching these curated collections and inviting the community to interact with them. The goal being let's really try and find the bugs, and with that, we're gonna introduce sort of a very similar to other bug bounties, a tiered reward program. So small bugs will be, you'll get a little bit of a reward, but for a critical bug that can be provably utilized and exploited, we're going to have a significant size bounty. I think at last calculation, it was about 500,000 COVAL.
Yeah, so right now, it'd be about $6,000, if you can find a critical bug in this test collection that we're going to be deploying. So we encourage the community to participate. If this works, then everyone's assets increases in value because there's more liquidity, more awareness. We just need to make sure we work out the kinks. That's why we're rolling out the test with these test tokens that Shannon created, and that who knows, maybe these test tokens end up becoming valuable in the long term if everything proves the way that we want it to go.
So just to get everybody thinking, one of the problems that we had to solve by moving from ERC 721 to ERC 1155 is every ERC 721 token is unique, right? Every Emblem Vault represents a unique wallet. Well, every ERC 1155, according to the Ethereum blockchain, or according to a marketplace like OpenSea or LooksRare, every Nakamoto ERC 1155 will be the same. So we've had to introduce into our ERC 1155 contract this idea of serialized. So every Nakamoto that's minted, yes, it will have the same token ID as every other Nakamoto that's minted, but it will also have a unique serial number that represents a unique wallet. So start thinking about ways that won't work. That's what we want to make sure that we test thoroughly that doesn't break.
Start trying to break that. Think about how to break that. I think R3 was up next. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, fam? So excited to be here, and I'm so happy that we're finally going to get a historical NFT marketplace. I'm super pumped. Big fan of Emblem. I have a lot of assets. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, I don't know if you guys remember, and I don't think this is FUD, right? But it's more about the communities on the other blockchains. I remember last year, Debussy I think it was Debussy, sold a Tezos asset inside an Emblem Vault. And I remember there was a lot of noise from the Tezos community about that. I'm a Tezos collector. I have a pretty large collection. So, I mean, it goes against the idea of decentralized assets. And I think that, there's merit, I guess, to the argument. But have you guys thought about, kind of getting in front of this and start voicing like the objective, like what it is that you guys are going to be driving to and why it's okay, even though the artist didn't originally mint it on Tezos, it's okay. We're just creating, a bigger marketplace, a bigger catch-all for potential collectors. Have you guys given any thought?
Absolutely. I think, it's for us and the idea, well, we've seen it happen with Pepe's and all and counterparty assets, right? It's like being able to find collectors and meet collectors where they are, I think is important. Um, but the asset stays on, when you unwrap the asset or crack the vault, it's on the original chain, right? So it's kind of, just finding collectors and meeting collectors where they are and where the liquidity is. I think it's valuable, and I think people will recognize this over time. Of course, it doesn't, not everybody's going to be psyched with it. But that's okay. And they don't have to be, right? So I don't know, that's my view, but yeah, I don't know how you feel about that.
It does get a bit hard. I mean, when I first worked out we could do it for counterparty, half a counterparty thought I was a scammer.
And what's more crypto than people taking individual responsibility and making their own choices, right? No one's forcing anyone to use Emblem. I mean, and when people buy something, they have the ability to crack the vault too later. So this is, again, I think is perfectly in line with, more options for people to take responsibility and do their thing. I mean, more options.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
options. That's critical, and I think a lot of it's going to boil down to education. Another thing that we discovered is that when we really started, when we were able to talk, oftentimes on a one-on-one basis with someone who had a complaint, once they really understood what was going on, that their assets weren't leaving the chain, they weren't being copy minted, they weren't being destroyed and then recreated on another blockchain. Like once all of the technical sort of technical bits were understood, it did alleviate a lot of the concerns.
Because I've used the like the transparent piggy bank as an analogy, but basically an emblem is basically a transferable seed key. The vaults stay on the native blockchain asset stays on it. All it really does is get a description and an image just to show what's inside, and anybody else can verify it on their own blockchain explorer.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think education is key. I mean, look, I share in the opinion, right? I mean, it's decentralized. I mean, we're not moving it from the blockchain, and I would love to get more eyes on some of my Tezos collection, across chain. It's all really interesting. Let me ask, have you guys also thought about from an analytics standpoint? One of the things that we're lacking in the historical community is the ability to see floor prices and just get better at analyzing kind of where the market's going for specific collections. So I would love to see, some heady dashboards or the ability to hook up to Dune. I don't know, I'm getting over my technical skis here, but I think you guys get what I'm saying.
Well, the curated collections, I think, would be the key to bringing in that type of thing. Because at the moment, you've got the one contract ID for the whole of Emblem Vault. So when you're looking at the floor, you're seeing someone who's just selling one Pepe cash and stuff like that,
Yeah, again, that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about this ability to create individual collections and that are ERC 1155, because they do, I mean, just sort of out of the box, we get for free stuff like consolidated floor prices.
Yeah, I mean, just to your question, R3, I think, it's not going to be, the platform isn't going to be heavily data focused, if that answers your question at all. It's going to be heavily content and information focused. So, community stuff around, for example, Pepe is the easiest one, where there's plenty of stuff there. So somebody who's seeing Pepe's for the first time, will have access to video and information and articles and stuff about Pepe's, right? I mean, telling that story, that's Jake and my job. And, you know, reaching out and working with communities to help them also tell their stories for some of these smaller communities like Puny Codes and stuff, right? So helping tell those stories, that's what we're all about. So more storytelling rather than simply data focus, if that makes sense.
Sure
But also,
does.
sorry, the curated collection would be its own unique Ethereum contract, so that you don't have to search through the 36,000 vaults. You can go directly to your own collections.
Yeah, like the analytics will then instantly plug into like all existing systems. There's like literally probably 100 different analytics platforms, and it'll all just magically work with that, right? It'll show up on the front page of OpenSea if it's trending, and it'll show you the floor on the front page of OpenSea. Like that's the point. Like you don't necessarily have to build all of that yourself. It'll just plug into all of these icy tools and other systems.
Exactly. Yep. You know, these systems, there's quite a few systems that analyze the rarities of traits, right? Out of the box, a curated collection will automatically work with those. And like you said, any number of the hundreds of different apps that have been developed tooling around Ethereum or EVM-based chains.
I think we have Vincenzo next, or Vincenzo. I'm sorry, man. Yep.
Yo, what's going on, guys? Thanks so
What's
much
up?
for hosting this. Shannon, thanks for being on. I wanted to sidestep just real quick at the beginning and say just thank you to Desktop Commando. Like he's been killing it in the Telegram chats before and kind of holding down the forts these past couple of years. And I think like he was the reason I came across his Medium articles and came across different things on Reddit. So he's definitely kind of been in the front with that. But I guess my question is, what?
Seconded. Cheers to him.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I guess my question is, what? Like I know you said before, these curated collections are your timeline, and I know it's constantly moving. And Shannon's been so busy, and you guys are kind of identifying the evolving cryptocurrency and NFT marketplace, like realizing, observing failures and adjusting based off of that. And you mentioned you're looking at early next year of having this rollout. Was that specifically aimed at a NFT to NFT marketplace, meaning a marketplace just for you guys, or is this a curated collection specifically that's gonna be like diminishing the whole search function within any kind of third-party marketplace like OpenSea? Basically, I just want to know what is the most imminent thing that is upcoming? What are those changes? And then also, I think it would be kind of smart to address, like, again, I know you guys have been so busy this year, but what kind of going forward changes are going to take place to make sure that the community is involved in understanding the roadmap and future applications of Emblem and COVAL? And thank you.
Yeah, so I would say the immediate changes you're going to see happening on OpenSea. The immediate focus right now is getting the curated collections going for the historical NFT collections, which has pretty much been the big business model for Emblem Vault and the big use case. I know, as we mentioned through the conversation, there's been a ton of functionality for Emblem Vault, ranging from cryptocurrencies to DeFi to NFTs to pretty much anything you could think of. Emblem Vault can do, but we're really trying to simplify the focus moving forward, because we kind of get caught in these, what if conversations and thinking about what Emblem Vault can do. We actually just need to start doing. And so we need to narrow the focus down. So curated collections on OpenSea is going to be the start. It's going to take some months to put together to make sure that it's rock solid. The code is good. The bidding works. It's something the community wants. And then the things that work over there will be translating to the marketplace, which is going to begin as a curated marketplace for historical NFTs. There's, of course, as then you begin to think about the larger vision of Emblem Vault, maybe the historical marketplace is a component of the overall Emblem vision of the NFT to NFT and universal DEX, which was proposed many years ago before historical NFTs became a market. But right now, the community, the historical community is, it's large. It's large enough to support Emblem Vault and to make sure that we can get this vision and support, and to, also have a profitable business so that Emblem Vault can build cool things outside of this. So it takes a really big group effort, but we have to narrow down here. And so curated collections are first. We have talked about a handful of things that, can be an addition to the marketplace that we don't want to mention yet, but we'll reveal over time. So there's a lot that's going on, but most of the immediate updates you'll probably see happening within the collections on OpenSea, while some of the other things are being built in the background.
Does that answer your question for you, man?
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you. I think just my last question would be something that comes up based on your response, which is, like, obviously you guys want to turn a profit. Like, you want things, like, it has to be a profitable business for you to continue researching and developing and adding new bolt-on features to your underlying product. So I guess my last question would just be, what is going to be the incentive function for you guys to be a profitable business? Like, is there going to be an incentive function?
Bro, we're a tech company. You don't need to be profitable. Haven't you learned anything, man?
Bro, that's like from Silicon Valley when he's like, "Oh, what do you mean break even? You want to be pre-profit.
We want to be pre-revenue, bro. Pre-revenue, dude. We don't want
so
revenue.
I guess the
We want to
question
be
is, like,
pre-revenue.
for you guys, what is going to be the incentive function for owning COVAL, creating vaults, and interacting with the marketplace?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a handful of ways you can look at this. I mean, the immediate one with the curated collections is, I don't know if you're familiar with like curio cards or the other ERC 1155s.
Yep.
Emblem Vault has a 2.5% royalty, and then OpenSea has the 2.5% marketplace fee. So, if you can create a curated collection for 1,700 rare Pepes, and then another, whatever it is, 1,000 of Spells of Genesis and fake rares and Sarutobi, and then to the Doge Party, you could get close to 10,000 different active collections with resting liquidity on that. And to me, if that's not an incentive to build something, like, to me, even in a bear market, that could be enough. This is all speculation in terms of liquidity, that could be enough to build a profitable business. And then, of course, the minting, right? If you start supporting some of the newer collections like Chain Left spoke of, or fake rares, or what's the other one? Rare Doge, or Fosogs, right? They're continually putting out new 100 supply collections where, you can buy, when you introduce bulk minting, right? You mint 20 new vaults in just that one specific update, which then you have to burn COVAL, which increases the token price. And, then it just becomes this giant game of liquidity and token burning. And to me, that seems like it could be quite an incentive for a team to build, and then enough to continually build more. But of course, you never really know because of market dynamics. But I think that's immediate incentive, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. And I appreciate you guys doing this.
Thanks, man. I think Devoted. What's up, man?
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Awesome. So first of all, I'd like to say thanks a lot for hosting this space. I believe many essential questions that people had about Emblem have been answered, and so just thanks a lot to everyone for hosting this space. And so I'm not sure if this has been answered yet or not, but I believe many individuals had asked this question or query before, and so basically the question is, maybe let's say an apocalyptic scenario occurs, and the likelihood of this happening is probably like really low. But let's say like such a worst case scenario occurs and the Emblem Vault front end goes down. So is there an alternative for individuals at that moment to retrieve their assets back in any way? Like, is there a plan of action if such a scenario does occur?
Shannon, you want to take that one?
Yeah, it's relatively high on my list to have the escape function fully implemented in a way that, let's say it's running on IPFS, so that the, in the event that everybody got hit by a bus, there will be a way, an escape hatch for everybody to get these assets. At the moment, we will need to have a trusted third party, right? So like an attorney might have to have, or a number of attorneys might have to have access to different parts of keys that would allow for users to, escape their assets out of Emblem Vault. And as we move closer and closer to full decentralization, that risk gets lower and lower, which is one of the reasons why it's really important to me to continue developing and making it as decentralized as possible. The goal being, and I see the path forward to making it fully decentralized.
Awesome. So thanks a lot for sharing that. So like, do you have like any approximate timeline that you could say, so that like just people can be worry free and know that no matter what happens, yes, their assets are going to be like, not at this moment, of course, but yeah, down the road, they're going to be they can be worry free that no matter what happens, their assets are going to be safe.
Yep. While I don't have a time frame now, I can all but guarantee the hosts and speakers that are in here today are going to be making a list of all the different priorities that the community members have, and it sounds like that's one that's going to remain high on the list. So it's going to fit into the roadblock, and then with Adam and with Jake focusing heavily on communication and engagement, as those enhancements are made, the community will know about it.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man. I think we're closing in on 2 hours now. Does anybody who's up speaking right now have any final thoughts?
Ooh, wow. I don't know. I love this space, man. Just we've all been using Emblem for quite some time. It's been a great service to our community, and I'm excited to work with Adam and work with Shannon and Desktop and everybody to really build this out. And I'm glad that the community could come in and ask hard questions and poke around and try to find holes. I think that's something that I really appreciate about the community is, you come in, you bring the technical questions, you don't have to attack anybody's, personality or credibility, but you want to have answers, or at least have some direction to how we may solve this issue. It's a solutions first community, and I just appreciate this conversation because it's really displayed that.
Yeah, I have more faith. I just having Adam and Jake be hired is an action that tells me that Emblem Vault is taking the historical community very seriously. They're doubling down on it, and I don't know. I just the fact that those actions were taken and that we're on this call today increases my faith in the future of Emblem Vault. And congratulations, Adam and Jake, guys. It's exciting. Shannon, really appreciate you coming up, dude. This has been cool, and I'm sure we'll have more of these.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Really appreciate you guys taking the time. Be sure, if you haven't yet, I think Jake pinned it up top. Go ahead, click on that link, go to that tweet, retweet it, put your address in there. You're probably all going to get some tokens, probably maybe even more than one, to test out the new contracts and stuff like that. So be sure to do that. And thanks everybody for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys.